Hello everybody, welcome to Walking with J.Beau, an almost daily walking vlog. You may or may not have just noticed that where I started recording today, Val's Drive-In, has cut their hours to Friday through Sunday, instead of only being closed on Monday. And I thought that was something to do with poor business lately, but it's not actually. Had not occurred to me when I first noticed that is their fall hours. We'll be coming up to the end of August shortly, and already kids will be going back to school. Imagine that. So that's their fall hours. They did that last year too, just a little bit earlier this year by a week. So 70 degrees today, bright sunshine, 70 degrees. Definitely feels like an early fall day today in Maine, which means it's coming. So we'll begin another season of cooler temperatures, heading on into winter like we do here in Maine. So today we're going to do about 5 miles. Not looking to break any records today. Now I walked yesterday, but I did not upload the video because I didn't feel like talking, and I didn't talk. But I did record it, and I was watching some of it back, and it's like pretty much a route that I walk pretty often, and without any vocals on it. It just wasn't very interesting, not worth the effort of uploading, even to my playlist for walks with no talking. So those other walks with no talking have different kinds of weather, like snow, things like that. So this one was just pretty much like another one that's already there with sunshine, so there really wasn't a point in uploading it. But anyway, we do have some stuff to talk about today. Beautiful weather aside, and it is beautiful today. As you can see, we get sunshine, 70 degrees. We're going to warm up a little bit to about 80 over the next couple days, but you know, tonight's going to go down in the 40s. Then we're going to go back to the 50s overnight. Usually when a front comes through from Canada, a strong one like came through, it took all the mugginess out, which is good. This is like your air-conditioned house right now, outdoors, and it's nice. So that's one reason to come to Maine. Hi. Hey. Today is I'm wearing a compression shorts, which I usually don't wear this type while I'm walking. I usually wear ones that are more of a cotton polyester. These are like a spandex, and I have my EDC with me that is adding weight to my pants, and I don't really have any hips anymore because of the weight loss. So I'm going to be pulling my pants up often unless I put my belt tight enough where it's not comfortable when I'm walking. And I knew that about these two, but I did it anyway. I did. Kind of dumb. Worst thing that'll happen is my pants will fall down while I'm walking. As long as it's not all the way down to my ankles, I'll be okay. So today, the little Z-man has come to the White House, and he compromised. He actually wore a suit. His entire suit was black. Black shirt, black tie, black jacket. It actually looked nice. Not a fan of him showing up in a friggin' sweater to the Oval Office, a place where people like Ronald Reagan wouldn't let people in the Oval Office unless they were wearing a tie. To show respect for the office, not the president. Big difference. So, anyway, that's what we got today. He did show up. And it seemed like an amicable meeting. He wasn't rude and argumentative. I was watching, and he did mention something I think that got under Trump's skin a little bit about elections. I'm sure the media is going to make a big deal out of it today because they didn't really have anything else to make a big deal out of. But by the time I upload this, you probably will have seen it. It's Zelensky was answering a reporter's question about elections. Presumably because the reporter knows Trump's viewpoint, especially considering Trump's post on True Social today, which I'll get into shortly, about elections and paper ballots. But Zelensky mentioned something about not being able to have elections because the war is going on. So Trump was like, oh, yeah, that's great. Yeah, good way to avoid elections, just have a war. And he was being sarcastic about it, and you already know my viewpoint on that. It's difficult to have elections when you have a war on, but it's been done in the past. And I understand that a lot of Ukraine has been destroyed, but there's a lot of Ukraine that has not been. So we only get to see what's been ruined on TV, and 2/3 of Ukraine is just as it was before the war, more or less. That's not to say bad things haven't happened, and I'm not making light of anything. I'm just saying they would be able to have elections. I have seen video online of parts of Ukraine having pool parties and guys and girls running around in bikinis and bathing suits, having a great time out in the open. Nothing has been destroyed or blown up. It's just eastern Ukraine. And that's because the Russians really don't have a formidable air force. And whatever planes they did have, a lot of them got shot down. And Ukraine was given a few old school jet planes that still run and work. And I guess they did a decent job. So, anyways, that's what's going on with that. Could have elections if they wanted to, I guess is my point. And obviously, they don't want to. Or Zelensky doesn't want to. Which technically it's up to Parliament, but they seem to be with him 100% on everything. So with that being said, Trump made a post about elections today that has the Democrats up in an uproar. Because Trump is doing everything he can to make elections fair next year for midterms, and especially for the presidential in 2028. And he's going to use his office as much as he can while the Republicans are in power to do what he said on the campaign, to fix the elections. So he made a post about paper ballots, getting rid of mail-in ballots. Now, this is an age-old thing where the people that are going to be defending mail-in ballots are going to try to conflate absentee ballots and mail-in ballots as being the same thing. President Trump in the past has said that absentee ballots are okay. Mail-in ballots are not. What's the difference? Absentee ballots have to be requested by the voter via telephone or email with the city clerk's office in whatever state and requesting a ballot. So you have to have an address for them to send it to. You have to be registered to vote. And you have to be on the voter rolls already in order to get one. Mail-in ballots are states like Arizona, Pennsylvania, all the battleground states. It's not a coincidence. Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, New York, California, which are not battleground states, but they're run by Democrats, and this is basically what Democrats want. Washington State, Oregon State, they want mass mail-outs, where they just send ballots to people's addresses. Nobody keeps up on the voter rolls. Some apartments will get 6 or 7 ballots mailed to them, which means you can vote 7 times. Because, like we saw in 2020, they're not going to validate the signatures or verify the person that's voting. And you can't have that. You just cannot have that. So that's what he wants Republicans to get rid of. Not absentee voting. I vote with an absentee ballot, for crying out loud. So does one of my brothers, who works out of state quite often enough where he would not be able to vote. So obviously you want people to vote. President Trump knows that. He has never said to get rid of absentee ballots. He said to get rid of mail-in ballots. The opposition tries to equate the two to say that Trump is trying to get rid of absentee ballots. So nip that in the bud as soon as somebody starts talking about it, that's not the case, will never be the case, and I would not support that. And neither would the Republican Party. So So get that clear. That's not going to happen. Now he also wants to get rid of electronic voting, which I do as well. Fortunately, we don't use that in Maine. Maine is paper ballots. Maine also does not have mail-in ballots. We have absentee ballots. And I have said this in the past, the reason why we can trust the elections here in Maine is because despite the Democrats running all 3, a trifecta, those were not done with cheating. Ranked choice voting is another problem altogether, which I believe is cheating and not fair. But absentee ballots are done responsibly here. There is signature verification, and we have had quite a few recounts in close elections between Republicans and Democrats, where the Democrat comes out ahead because of ranked choice voting, not because of mail-in ballots. So there's the fence of shame. Hello. Settle down. Cut it out. We know you're just defending your house. Relax. So anyway, we're going to have absentee ballots. A good example of that is they wanted Susan Collins' seat real bad 6 years ago. And it was when they started ranked choice voting. And they did not have a 3rd candidate running. And we have paper ballots. Well, Susan Collins won, and it wasn't even close. So if Democrats are using absentee ballots and things like that to cheat with, they're not very good at it. The last election, Donald Trump won this district by a lot. Wasn't even close. A very easy win for Trump. Trump is the only Republican to win this district and get an electoral college vote out of Maine. He's the only person that did it since Ronald Reagan. And Trump did it 3 times. So we got a sunflower trying to come up here. So I guess what I'm saying is if the Democrats are cheating, they're not doing a good job of it. They just lost seats in the legislature, and they lost seats in the Senate here. So, and that's just a fact. I'm honest with you guys. If you get rid of mail-in ballots and you just have no electronic voting and you just have paper ballots, elections will be fair nationally. They won't be able to cheat. Now, you still have places that have ballot harvesting. Ballot harvesting would be eliminated by getting rid of paper ballots. Just having paper ballots and no mail-ins. Because the issue with that is you have balloting. I gotta get across the street here. So you have this absentee ballots, and people can vote, which is good. People should be able to vote absentee. The reason why I say that is you have some people that might have 3 or 4 kids, can't afford to pay a babysitter, don't have anybody to babysit, they don't want to lug all these kids. First week in November, which on rare occasions here we have winter storms, could have an ice storm, could have all kinds of problems. So people need to be able to vote absentee, but through the city clerk, and to be on the voter roll has to be a must nationally. Ranked choice voting is a problem, as stated. And if you don't know how ranked choice voting is, you need to look that up. The other thing I want to add is I misspoke. Because every state has their own ranked choice voting laws. Zoran Mamdani in New York City, Mayor Cuomo and Mayor Adams, former Governor Cuomo, running for mayor of New York City, they used ranked choice voting for the primary voting, but the actual mayoral election, if I'm not mistaken, is not going to be ranked choice voting. So somebody needs to drop out of that race. I think former Governor Cuomo should drop out, so it's just Adams against Mamdani. And I think the Republican candidate should drop out also. And I say that because we need to make sure that we don't get that socialist in office. And I think a lot of Republicans would get on board. That vote in New York City, it's a small amount to begin with. I don't think it would matter. So, maybe leaving the Republican candidate, which is the guardian angel, on the ballot may work. It will all depend on what's going on with polling for that. Right? And we'll see what happens out of that. So we need to have a fair election regardless in New York City. And from what I understand, they're not going to use ranked choice voting for that. So that's good. But it won't be good if the candidates don't drop out that aren't going to win. They need to acknowledge they're not going to win. Then they can tell their voters which candidate to vote for. So every place is different. I still think Democrats are going to cheat to make sure the independent Adams wins. I do believe that because Adams is the governor right now. Crime is being reduced. He's doing a half-decent job. He's fixing the immigration problem. Some Democrats are upset with that, but I think secretly they might not be. They realize that it's a problem for them next year at the election, and it is, which is why I don't see why people think Democrats are just automatically going to win the House next year in DC. I don't see how they can just automatically say, well, that's what happens every time. Well, there's been 2 times in the past that didn't happen. And the way the political spectrum is right now, it's ripe for them not winning again. Because they are doing absolutely nothing. The best they can do, and I mentioned this earlier, last night, online, every single Democrat talking point inserts the word Trump in it. Trump, 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 Trumpity, Trump, Trump. They're not discussing their policies. They're just saying what Trump is doing is wrong and not offering solutions, and that's not going to win their midterms. It's not. Combined with the fact that their existing policies are what lost them 2024. So Democrats, if they were going to win the House, they would have won in 2024 when Trump won as a checks and balances type thing. But that's not what happened. And we're also not seeing Democrats change. They're not changing. They've come out and said we need to focus more on the economy, we need to focus more on this, but they're not. So, you know, every post that comes out of their mouth is Trump, Trump, Trumpity, Trump, 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 Trump. And even when you do a search online and you use AI, you ask what the Democrat policies for 2025 are, and even that mentions Trump all the time in them. Because the AI is based on what Democrats are talking about online. Elected officials and stuff. So you have Democrats criticizing the one big beautiful bill, but they don't offer any solutions. I guess is my point. And the talking points the Democrats are using is people are going to lose Medicare, they're going to lose Social Security, they're going to lose this, they're going to lose that, and this is going to hurt the economy. And none of that is true. None of it. By this time next year, the economy is going to be in high gear. The one big beautiful bill is going to be doing incredible things. People are going to get more money from their paychecks. All kinds of great things are going to happen. Just in time for the election next year. So all of this stuff that they're talking about is not going to be true. Watch that guy's dog. That woman's dog. Some people throwing the ball around out there. Football. I used to play ball here. As I mentioned, look how brown everything is. Beautiful day today. Absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to turn the camera around just to say hi. I don't have the front screen on, but that's okay. How it works. We're recording. So this is that area that I walk to sometimes. So just wanted to say hi to everybody, and we will switch the camera back around shortly. I'm not going to spend a lot of camera time today. It's not necessary really, but you know, we do need to have absentee ballot voting. That needs to be a thing. And I already know the media is going to jump all over what Trump said tonight, and they're going to say people won't be able to go vote. Completely false. He's not talking about absentee ballots, and he knows what he's doing when he doesn't mention it, because he knows they're going to do that, and then it informs the people of what he's really doing. So Republicans need to pass a comprehensive election bill for election integrity. It's not going to get one Democrat to support that at all. And you may have to coerce a couple of senators to vote for it. But I think it'll pass. It's necessary. And if you don't pass it, then the Democrats are just going to keep winning elections with ballot harvesting. Ballot harvesting is where you hire a third-party company, and all they do is they drive around to places and get people to fill out ballots under the premise that they're going to be honest and not fill out a whole bunch themselves, which I think a lot of them did in 2020 just because Trump. And we had a lot of ballots that were never verified, and they had the excuse of the pandemic to do it. I just believe that's what they did. It's my opinion. I don't want a disclaimer put underneath my videos, but I'm sure YouTube will do that anyway. Actually, you know what? I want to see what's going on with Bates College students today. Be about the time they come back, actually getting ready to go back to school. So I don't know what is going to be done about this by the Republican Party, but I know a lot of people are waking up to wanting honest elections. Trump aside, we have voter ID on the ballot here in Maine, which the last poll I saw is polling approval for that less than the national average, but it's at 69%. National average is 75%. So I suspect it's going to pass here in Maine. I really do. It's going to require people to, you can only vote you can only vote if you have an ID for the state you live in and can vote, or you're on the voter roll. And I say that because New York State issues IDs to non-citizens. And somebody comes to school here, Bates College, they're allowed to vote here if they're a student. I don't agree with that either. If you're not from this state, you shouldn't be voting. But they're going to be here going to school, living in the state. So there's a fine line there. But people are going to do the right thing. Voters have been waking up to a lot of things, and they're not trusting the same people they used to trust to run things. And they realize you can't trust government to run things because they take advantage of it. So we'll see what happens with that. And you know, there's a lot of things going on right now. I'm going to turn the camera around. There is a lot of things going on right now. And we're going to see what's going on over this way. It looks like people are coming back. We've walked this way before. And it looks like we see a lot of license plates. Massachusetts. A lot of Maine plates. But there are a lot of out-of-state plates we're going to see. Hi. So I see their tents that they have set up. They usually do stuff like that for people coming back in the fall. And when you start seeing these cars here, that means we are going to get fall. Fall is coming. I see a lot of Maine license plates. I'm not sure how much of this today has to do with students or faculty. It might be a faculty thing. A lot of people work here at the college. And you can tell the college vehicles because the license plates are all out of state, but I'm not seeing that today. There's a nice looking dog here. Happy dog. Admission, visitors information session, and campus tours. So that's what they're doing here today. They're doing admissions and campus tours. School won't be starting till next month. So that's what we're seeing. And they did that with the college I went to also. Admissions and campus tours. It's mainly for things like parents to come check out. Take a walking tour of the campus like they're doing over here. How old the buildings are, what they are, why they're here. Those look like young people, probably future students. So that's something they've been doing a long time here, which is good. Spent a lot of time on campus here. 1955. Academia Batesina. We used to do that when we were kids too, bring dogs here to run them around. It's a nice place to run your dogs. And there are ordinances to pick up after your dogs. That license plate is Hamilton. Hamilton, Ontario. Looks like. Cut through over this way. Such a nice day today. I wish the whole year could be 70 to 80 degrees without any mugginess. No winter. So they have notebooks, clipboards, purses, iPads, now, I've met all kinds of people that go to school here. I've met people that go to school here who are well off, and I have met people that go to school here that worked while they were going to school here who were not well off. So that means they did really good in school. Hi. So that means they did really well to get in here to begin with. And I'm sure it was a lot more difficult. So we have gone up to Mount David before, which is just a giant granite rock in the middle of the city. Nobody can build anything on, but it belongs to the college, and it used to get a nice view of the city, Lewiston, Auburn, all the way into the horizon. But the last time we went up there, the trees grew so much you can't see the horizon. And you get to the top of the rock, you stand there, and all you see is the top of trees, and you don't see the city. So, Connecticut license plate, communist state. I've seen Massachusetts, another communist state. Hi.
How you doing?
All the young people showing up. So we're getting our walk in, which is what we wanted today. Massachusetts, or as I affectionately call it, Massachusetts. New York. Definitely a communist state. There was one walk we went on where we walked through a whole string of cars, students that were here in their dorms. They were parked overnight, and there was Ohio, Illinois, Idaho, there was California, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, Pennsylvania, everywhere. And this is one of the top 20 colleges in the country, and it is a liberal arts college. I mentioned this before, but NBC sportscaster Bryant Gumbel, who also did a morning show and things like that, went to school here. David Hasselhoff went to school here, the Knight Rider. That was weird. Somebody hit that sign going by. Let's see if I caught that on a replay, because I wasn't looking at it, but maybe the camera caught it. Maybe the camera caught it. That sign made a sign noise and was wiggling around, and nobody was around it, just the vehicle that went by it. So I think somebody ended up, I want to see if they got a scrape on their car. I just don't know if I caught it on video. We'll see. I'll watch that on the playback. I don't know how somebody hits a road sign driving by it, but there we are. We'll see if our dog is over here to come and bark at me today. Nope. I would have known he was here by now. Let's see what we have for mileage here on my app. Almost 3 miles. Alright, I'll take a right-hand turn here. If we weren't at 3 miles, I'd go straight. I'm going to go this way. So, like I said, we had little Zelensky at the White House today, and you don't see him wearing a suit very often. And one of the clips where he's wearing a tuxedo, he actually has his hands behind his head and he's playing the piano with his penis, because he was a comedian. So there's a clip of that online on YouTube. It's not hard to find. Zelensky playing the piano with his penis. But he was in entertainment, and it's not really belittling him. It's just funny seeing him now in war against Russia, leading Ukraine. And he ran on being anti-corruption to see him where he is now. And to be fair, there's film clips of Donald Trump in overalls and a country western hat, singing some hokey, hoedown kind of music. You have to remember, Trump was also in the entertainment industry. So I think the key to having peace in Ukraine is one of the reasons why Russia invaded Ukraine was because of NATO and Europe's encroachment to the Russian border, and there's really no solution for Putin to have that, what he wanted. He is more likely now to have a peacekeeping coalition, which is basically NATO in Ukraine, which is what Putin didn't want. So the likelihood of a peace deal happening right now is slim. If Trump pulls it off, then God bless him for it. He's going to need the Lord on his side to do it, that's for sure. Zelensky doesn't want to give up ground that Russia has already taken. Zelensky has openly stated that they're not going to agree to any kind of deal if Russia keeps what they've taken. Zelensky wants Russia all the way out of Ukraine, and that's just not, it's not going to happen. It's unrealistic. So the alternative is that if this peace deal doesn't work out, there's really not going to be any chance of peace, and it's going to end with Ukraine being taken by Russia and 3, maybe 4 million more people dead, and perhaps idiots like Macron or Keir Starmer of the UK getting militarily involved, along with Germany's Chancellor, Prime Minister, deciding that they're going to put boots on the ground in Ukraine and effectively having World War III start. And under Article 5 will guarantee that the United States is involved whether we want to be or not. And that's what scares me with this. That's why I wish the United States would have left the UN. I think it's an outdated organization for a different time period when technology was different. Things are different now. Wars are not fought the same anymore. And with the combination of technology and military guarantees through Article 5, I think it's just asking for a disaster on a global scale. I can see things escalating in that region to the point where China now sees an opportunity to escalate and take Taiwan while we're busy with that. And nobody talks much about China, but it's in their DNA. They have been a conquering nation since they have been a nation, and they've been relatively quiet. But they have a history, and they built up their navy, which is now bigger than ours. People don't talk about that very much. They also have nuclear weapons with multiple warhead missiles, not as many as we do. The Trident missile carried on our submarines, we have hundreds of those. One submarine will have 2,000 warheads on a couple hundred missiles inside the nuclear submarine, ready to launch off the coast of Russia or China. And we also have very good stealth capability for those, virtually undetectable. And the Chinese have rebuilt their navy to be able to detect those things and counter fighting the United States specifically. So China is not worried about other countries and their navies. They have geared what they're doing specifically to counter the United States military. Why would they do that? They know we're never going to invade China. We're never going to attack them. So there's only one reason why they would do that. It's basically 2 + 2 = 4. It's because they want to take Taiwan and they know we're going to defend it. China looks at Taiwan like Putin looks at Ukraine. Taiwan used to belong to China. That has been a sore spot with them ever since it was lost. And I believe Britain was very foolish in appeasing China by relinquishing control of Hong Kong back to China. I think that was very foolish. As have American companies accepting Chinese money. And that includes our movie industry, who most of Hollywood now is owned by China still. And you can't make a movie that badmouths China. And this is what they do. So, you know, that's why I don't like actors like The Rock. The Rock has taken so much Chinese money to make his movies that he even had a movie called Skyscraper where he played a US veteran that lost a leg, and he's adapting to a new career as a security personnel in a Chinese billionaire's tallest building in the world. You see how this goes? The Chinese billionaire is the richest guy in the world. The skyscraper is the tallest building in the world. It's in Hong Kong. And all of the police in it were portrayed as humanitarian good guys. You know, they make the Chinese Communist Party look like a bunch of wonderful people. All the bad guys in it were white Americans. And the one American that was a good guy to star in the movie was one that was crippled in a stupid American war. So there's another political statement without having to say it. And you know, The Rock took a lot of money from China to make that movie, and the only way he could get the movie made was to make China look great. And that's what he did. It was a Chinese propaganda film. And that's when I decided strictly on that. And this was like 2017, 2018, something like that. That's when I really started paying attention to Hollywood and disliking them. And it's all come to fruition. So a lot of the stuff you watch, a couple of the Godzilla films, the Chinese guy sacrifices himself in the movie, and he leaves a note for his family saying, if I don't make it, give this to my family. And part of it was crafted out of an old Chinese proverb about self-sacrifice for a greater cause, which is, you know, the Communist Party does that. So the Chinese Navy showed up to save the day in that movie. So it's all Chinese propaganda. People need to wake up to that, see what they're doing when they watch a movie. There was another movie called The Arrival, where this unexplained oblong shaped things just appeared globally out of nowhere. And this linguist was brought in, and I saw this in the theater. And this was right about that time, and this was another one of those movies. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I fell for that again. I felt like that when I saw the movie. But the linguist solved what the English, the alien language was. And she ended up communicating what they were really saying. The American military didn't want to hear it. They were ready to launch a full-out assault, nuclear weapons, everything. And the Russians didn't want to hear it either. They were going to do the same thing. But she got her message across to a Chinese consulate. And then the Chinese relayed it. And the Chinese Navy came in, understanding that the aliens were not a threat. They wanted peace. And they prevented nuclear war and destruction. So it's Chinese propaganda again. Russia bad, United States bad. So that's it. And I'll turn the camera around. But we're going to have I like Trump's idea, and I think the European leaders do too, of tariffing China if they buy oil from Russia. Now basically, I'm going to turn the camera around again. This is important. Part of the discussions is looking like is that, let's see, make sure this is on. Yeah. Part of the discussions Trump had with Putin, which have not been revealed in detail, but a lot of people suspect that Trump had a talk with Putin. Judging by Putin's remarks after they had a talk having to do with the economy and Russia's future in the world stage, rejoining the world markets, it sure looks like Putin wants peace. I don't think he would come out and blatantly say the things he said if he was pulling somebody's chain. I think Russia understands that Russia right now, as it is, and this is important to understand the context, basically right now Russia is a big gas station. Natural gas, petroleum, oil, and that's all they are. They don't make anything else. They don't lead the world in anything else. And at this point, they're not even having McDonald's in Russia, because McDonald's pulled out of Russia to protest what they're doing in Ukraine. So Russia copied McDonald's. And they have a Russian McDonald's that looks like a McDonald's, runs the same way, basically the same food. So Russia can be self-contained, but they're not going to get rich, okay? And the size of Russia compared to Europe is, look at a map. Russia is huge. They have mineral resources that the world needs for making chips, circuitry, AI. They have resources there. Very valuable minerals needed for car batteries, all kinds of stuff. And it's just sitting there untapped because of this. And I think Trump told Putin, get a peace deal done, let Europe keep some kind of peace guarantees in Ukraine, and, you know, join the world in being a superpower, a real world player in the real world, instead of what Russia is now, which is basically a gas station. So I think that's what he talked to him about. That's what makes sense to me. And again, I'm not always right with this stuff, but I've read a lot about this stuff, and a lot of times you got to use common sense and intuition. Now, Putin doesn't really care personally for himself, because he's getting older. I think he's got health issues that haven't been disclosed. Some people have rumored cancer. He may very well have advanced prostate cancer or something like that. I did notice when he met Trump, he was noticeably limping. Vladimir Putin was limping. That was obvious. And a lot of times with prostate cancer, it'll get into your lower spine, your tailbone, your hips. It'll metastasize to the bones and the marrow, and that's when it becomes a problem, because then it finds a way to your lungs, liver. You basically get cancer all through you from that, if not treated. So if he's limping, that means it's, now I'm just hypothesizing a prostate cancer. That's pretty common for people of a certain age. A lot of men have issues with that. And there's different kinds. A lot of people will be diagnosed with prostate cancer that isn't going to be a problem for them unless they lived for the next 20, 30 years. And if you're 70 years old, you're not going to. So just leave it alone. So anyway, it's just one of those things. He was limping. Now, he could have banged his shin on a, he could have been kicked by a horse. He rides horses, so could be anything. But he doesn't look as fit and healthy as he used to, I guess is my point. His face looks a little rounded, a little puffed up, like it might be the result of some medications he's on. Don't know. It's all a big secret. And so far that hasn't leaked, so. But there's definitely something going on with him, I guess is my point. And he wants to leave a Russia for other generations. And because most people want to do that. He obviously knows he's going to die. He knows his mortality. And he knows that whatever he does now affects the future after he's gone. And right now, you got a little over 1 million Russians killed in Ukraine, which is the numbers I saw. Probably a couple more million casualties besides that. Russia's got about 150 million people. I think 148 million or 142 million. So it hasn't made a big dent in their population. Now, I don't know why that car went by and that woman was screaming. She was either screaming at somebody in the car or she was screaming at me. And because I'm filming, maybe that's the issue. But I'm not wearing my Trump hat, so it can't be that. So anyway, I'm going to turn the camera around because it is beautiful today. But I just wanted to bring up those points that, Putin wants to leave a good country behind, despite what he's trying to do, and despite people not agreeing with what he's doing. He's doing that because Ukraine used to belong to Russia. It's the same thing if we wanted to add Texas back if we lost Texas. That's why China is going to take Taiwan back someday. I know that for a fact. Plus, Taiwan has a lot of technology, a lot of factories in place for chips, things like that. So it's one of the reasons why the United States, under Donald Trump especially, have to make sure, and has been doing so, that we start making chips here. Because if, we lose Taiwan and South Korea to invasion or war or whatever, I mean, the chip market would get interrupted even if North Korea just started a war with South Korea again, with China. So I can picture North Korea attacking South Korea while China attacks Taiwan. And that's how those things go. That would be a horrible thing, but I really think that's going to happen someday if people are not careful. Look at that deep blue sky. I see a bird of prey way up there circling around. It's not a bald eagle, but it is something. No whitehead. I know you don't see that on video, but that's the difference between video and the naked eye. So the way Putin was talking after he and Trump talked, I think Trump just told him, you know, Vladimir, Russia could be doing so well right now if it weren't for this. And you also know that's what they talked about, because during Trump's presser afterwards, when he was talking, while they didn't take any questions, he did mention very clearly, he looked over to Vladimir and said, I would have loved to have done something with Russia in my last term, but I had to deal with the Russia hoax, and there's no way I could have made a business deal with Russia while that was going on. And because the Democrats did that, he said, they hurt both of our countries, because we could have made a trade deal and then nothing in Ukraine ever would have happened. And I firmly believe that Democrats have caused so many problems for this country, both obvious and not obvious. They have been a scourge sent by frickin' Satan himself, I swear to God. We wouldn't have had the Ukraine war. We wouldn't have had Hamas doing what they did to Israel. That all came about after Biden was sworn in. And Biden released that money back to Iran, who turned around and gave it to Hamas. Very stupid decisions like that. You know, it's like they do it on purpose, and it would not surprise me someday if we found out they did, because it's too crazy. The way they pulled out of Afghanistan, complete disaster on every single damn thing that the Biden administration did. And so anyway, that's where we are now. Russia could be a world ally. That would help keep China in line. But instead, it looks like we're going to have to resort to putting tariffs on Russia if they don't settle this. Tariffs on countries that sell to Russia. I gotta cross over here. I've got a bad vibe walking up here today. Late at night I would. Not today. Does not look very safe to me. Across the street. People drive too fast through here during the day. And when they don't, too many people aren't paying attention. I don't want to get hit by a car. And nobody can blame me. So I think Putin's going to decide what's best for Russia rather than his own personal ambition. Because what a lot of people don't realize is that Putin's one of the richest men in the world. He's got billions and billions and billions of dollars from the energy sector in Russia. Former KGB when they were communist. He has a lot of friends and allies. And the ones who weren't friends and allies he's gotten rid of. And what I mean by that is he's killed them. He's killed reporters. He's not a nice guy. I'm not defending him. But what I'm saying is he's getting older, and he really probably thought he could get Ukraine much easier than the resistance that he has run into. And now he's realizing that he's stuck in a quagmire, and he's looking for a way out to have some kind of dignity. So he could very well agree to some kind of deal that will involve peacekeepers in Ukraine from Europe, but no missiles. That's really what I think he doesn't want, because he was talking about a new missile treaty with Trump, and I think it's all geared towards not having missiles in the region that will be a threat to Russia. But if Ukraine needs peace guarantees so Russia doesn't go back, that might be a compromise Putin will have to take, even if he does it under false pretenses, thinking that maybe a couple years from now, if we get a Democrat president, we'll try it again. That would be a better alternative than how it's going for him right now, which isn't very well. I was reading that Russian inflation is approaching 20%, which is outrageous. That's paying 20% more on prices that have been going up for goods in Russia to begin with. So, put that in perspective, that's a lot extra to pay. 20% is 20%, and that's on top of the price that shot up to begin with. So you have like the regular cost of goods going up, and then you have an extra 20% on top of that. Then you have to deal with the fact that you could get drafted to go fight. And, there's a lot of people. Putin's got some growing social issues in Russia where people did not anticipate this lasting this long. It wasn't supposed to be this difficult. And Putin did not count on Europe and the United States to help Ukraine out this much. Now, one thing that would guarantee peace, and it really begrudges me to say it because I really don't want to see it, but that would be giving Article 5 protection to Ukraine, which means admitting Ukraine into NATO. So that's up to other people in Europe to decide. Personally, I wish the United States would leave NATO. I think ultimately, because we're the most powerful military in the world, we get the wrong people in the White House like we had with Biden, and the real possibility of world conflict is real. Stupid people doing stupid things out of arrogance, or, oh, they would not dare. Yeah, let's do that. They'll be so impressed with our might, they just would not dare to do that. We'll never be called upon to act on it. And then the worst happens, you know? These people in the last administration were so stupid and incompetent. It's mind-boggling everything that we have learned since. So that's not going away for them either, because when the politicians come back in a couple weeks, is still going to be the auto pen issue. And one of the reconciliation bills is going to include voter reform, election reform. And the Democrats are going to fight tooth and nail against that, and they're going to lose anyway because there's public support for it. As much as the Democrats hate it, people know there's problems with our elections. They're not watching the media and trusting what they say anymore anyway either, because they know they're being lied to. Donald Trump today said without evidence that mail-in ballots, blah, blah. Well, we've seen the evidence. Americans aren't stupid. We know what happened. Every battleground state that mattered, they cheated in with mail-in ballots. Georgia has remedied that. I fully expect both Democrat senators from Georgia to lose next year. They're both running. So you have Warnock and Ossoff running for re-election next year. And Democrats right now in Georgia are not very popular. So a lot of people were surprised when both of them won. And they won because of mail-in ballots during a pandemic. They took advantage of a pandemic. So they shockingly unseated the Republican that was the senator out of Georgia. And Warnock specifically won because of the Atlanta district, Fulton County. And they had tons of mail-ins. They didn't verify signatures. The governor of Georgia, Kemp, was being an idiot. And so was the Secretary of State. They didn't like Trump. But since then, that has changed also. So I fully expect Georgia to go red again. Both Senate seats. I really do. I also expect Alyssa Slotkin in Michigan to lose. She stole a red seat. The guy she stole it from is running again against her. Polls have showed that she's not very popular and she was a mistake. So she chastises Trump all the time, and then she tries to pass off as a moderate. And you know, people aren't buying that anymore. It's a new world since Biden was in office. And also Susan Collins in Maine here, while she is unpopular, or more unpopular than she has been since she's been a senator, she has gone against Trump so many times that she's actually going to appeal to the moderate independents in Maine, because she will be someone of reason who goes against Trump, the dictator, and they'll vote for her. So she has a formula here in Maine that works for her. I've explained it to you guys. At least 1/3 of Maine's electorate are independent. A lot of them lean left, and but they're not ready to be Democrats. So somebody like Susan Collins, who goes against Trump but doesn't side with the Democrats on everything, is somebody that can win here. And I've explained it before. If somebody came out that was pro-Trump, very conservative in this district, they would lose that election. And I'm being honest, you know. I know this state. While this district is very red and Trump won it, got an electoral college, outside this district is part of the districting for the Senate. In other words, Angus King reaches here, and so does Susan Collins. The way they have gerrymandered this district, the Democrats I'm talking about, is they ensure that we never get a pro-Trump senator. That's a whole discussion for another day. Coming up to the end of this walk, as we just hit 5 miles. The end of my walk is becoming nigh. But that is true, because I still cannot believe that I had the option to vote for Susan Collins and Angus King in this district. On my ballot I had. So there's two senators from the state of Maine, the only Democrat blue state in New England that still has a Republican senator, I should add. And while she doesn't vote for everything that we like, I can tell you right now, we had Sarah Gideon running against her the last time, who wanted to put new taxes on heating fuel, gasoline, snack taxes, food taxes, ban your guns. Fucking lunatic, a leftist lunatic, who used to be the Attorney General in Maine. Which, by the way, Janet Mills used to be as well. And they're all incestuous. Now, Shanna Bellows, Secretary of State, is running for governor, among many other people. So there are a lot of Democrats who want the governor job here in Maine, and so far I've only heard maybe 2-3 Republican names. Not even sure if they're really going to do it yet, but we'll find out who that is soon enough. And so I'm going to end this walk with talking about Chuck Schumer. Now, the Democrats in Maine are trying to get and keep their power, so they're having Shanna Bellows, who's the Secretary of State, which is, to refresh your memory, the Shanna Bellows who sued RFK to get him off the primary ballot and off the general election ballot, which she failed at doing, but she tried, and RFK ended up dropping out on his own anyway. And so Shanna Bellows is the Secretary of State who runs our elections, and she's running for governor. So they want to keep their own in power that they already know and control. And the reason why I mentioned about suing RFK to keep him off the ballot is she also kicked Trump off the ballot. She lost all of those in court battles, but it didn't matter. She made her bones. She fought back, and now she's going to be looked at as somebody that's with them and has skin in the game and cares. Even though she came here from Massachusetts, she's not from Maine. She's an import. She's a Massachusetts socialist, a nutbag. She cannot be governor. So somebody's going to run against her that's a Democrat. I don't know what they're going to end up with. Right now there's 5 people that want the job, and it's not good. One of them's a former Democrat head of the Senate who's corrupt. The other one is a young guy who is the current head of the legislature, in his 30s, very ambitious, communist, socialist. He's the one that punished Laurel Libby for posting a picture of a man winning a women's sporting event, and she was punished for that. She had to sue. She finally sued and won her case, but he was preventing her from voting for her district until she apologized, and she wouldn't. And that just gives you an idea of what the Democrats here are like. They're the fascists. They are the authoritarians, not the Republicans, and people are slowly waking up to that. So we're going to have an interesting ballots here in Maine coming up this year with voter ID, and then next year we're going to have the general with the governor and things like that. So it's going to be interesting. Anyway, my point was that Shanna Bellows is somebody that they're looking at to replace Janet Mills, who's the point I was getting to. Janet Mills hasn't decided what she's going to do. I think she's 76 or 72, 76, maybe 74. And she's going to be done her second term as governor. And I think Chuck Schumer is trying to talk her into running against Susan Collins. why I'm bringing it up. And then you have Angus King, whose son, also a king, is going to be running for his Senate seat. So they're trying to fill their holes with people they know they're going to be able to control, basically. So we'll see what happens with that. If Janet Mills runs against Susan Collins, I don't know who's going to win that race. I do know that the Democrats are looking for younger, new people, and that isn't it. So we got a lot to watch. So anyway, my friends, say a prayer for Trump and the country. God bless you and your family. We'll see you on the next walk, and thank you very much for walking with J.Beau today. And again, sorry about not uploading the walk yesterday. There was no talking. I didn't feel like it. And it was kind of a boring walk, to be honest with you. Same old ground, nothing new happened. So if there had been a car accident or something like that, I would have uploaded it, but nothing. So anyways, my friends, share the content, click like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next walk. God bless.